Good evening, everyone. It is 5 o'clock. I want to welcome everyone to the City of Jacksonville's Land Use and Zoning Committee. It's Tuesday, April 1st. I am your chairman, Councilman Carrico. We're going to start with introductions all the way down to the mint chocolate chip on my left. Look at that pistachio even. Mint.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ken Amaro, City Council, District 1.
How tonight is going to go. Rockman Johnson, District 14.
Good evening, Raw Areas, District 11.
It's always a good time at LUZ. Kevin Carrico, District 4.
Joe Carlucci, District 5.
Reginald Gaffney, Jr., District 8.
Good afternoon, Roy Diamond, District 13. 868 is going to be withdrawn.
Dylan Reingold with the Office of General Counsel.
Elena Parola with the Planning Department.
Aaron Abney, Planning Department.
Casey Cox, Planning Department.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Without further ado, we're going to start rolling through this agenda. Item number 1, 2024-0535 is deferred. Item number 2, 2024-0539 is deferred. Item 3, 2024-0611 is deferred. Moving on to item 4, 2024-0868. Mr. Diamond, you don't have to get in the queue. I'd like to call on you, and you can tell us your plan for 868. Make a motion if you'd like to. Got a motion and a second on the withdrawal. All right, I have no one else on the queue. Please open the ballot. Record your vote. You know, we usually don't allow that, but I think this time it's actually warranted. So.
7 yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've withdrawn 2024-0868. Moving on to item 5, 2024-0869. I have a motion and a second on the withdrawal of 2024-0869. I have no one in the queue. Please open the ballot and record your vote.
Seven yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you have withdrawn 2024-0869. And this is the point where I remind everybody, for the rest of the meeting, we can't clap or applause or show signs of joy or discontent or disappointment. But thank you again for those of you who have been coming and being real patient with sharing your thoughts on this legislation. Congratulations. All right, item 6, 2025-0090. Before we open the public hearing, I think Councilmember Carlucci wanted to say something.
Correct. My apologies. The applause sort of got me a little confused there for a second. No, I just wanted to go ahead and communicate this as we move through the public hearing for this. There is going to be an amendment offered for this one as well, I believe, that removes all the missing middle legislation, just to keep it consistent, I think, with the actions that we just took back to back. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you for sharing that. And of course, we'll get through, we'll open the public hearing and we'll go through these speaker cards. And since we're going to move on this, we need a staff report. All right, so we'll open the public hearing, we'll get a staff report, and then we'll go to the cards. Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 2025-90 is the adoption round of text amendments to the comprehensive plan. These were approved for transmittal to state with 2024-516E. So what you see before you today is the same exact thing that was approved for transmittal to state back in November of 2024. Some of the changes that you see in this document is the population projections were updated based on the most recent median projections from the Office of Economic and Demographic Research, and that is to meet the 10-year planning timeframe. This update in population helps fine-tune housing needs and level of service needs throughout the city. Some other state requirements that were updated, we needed to ensure that our housing element addresses affordable workforce housing. And we found that it does meet the affordable workforce housing requirements by the state. However, we did not use that term correctly in our document. So you'll see some changes where you'll see it say affordable and workforce housing or affordable workforce housing. At the same time, we added some missing middle policies that would allow for an increase in housing stock and supply, and therefore allow us to encourage that increase in housing stock and supply, and therefore create more supply, and hopefully endpoint would be more affordable housing. So you'll see those policies in there, and I think Councilman Carlucci offered an amendment to remove those policies and the definition as well. You also see some state requirements that we have to allow floating solar facilities as an allowed use in the comprehensive plan. We added that to the agriculture land use, but solar facilities are already allowed in light industrial and heavy industrial without making a description of whether they're floating or land. So this just adds it to that, and we'll be looking at some other language to do similar changes to the land development regulations to match that. Another state regulation was to remove residential from the list of categories where affordable housing may be permitted regardless of law, local ordinance, or regulation. So that is just a slight change, removing residential, and that's directly related to the Live Local Act right now, or those types of programs. So right now, Live Local is only allowed in commercial or industrial categories, and this aligns the policy that we already have with those types of programs. So it just takes out the word residential from that policy. We also amended the public schools and facilities element to address that school concurrency is deemed satisfied when the developer gives a written, legally binding commitment to provide mitigation. And that is, we did that through an existing policy 3.3.6 to incorporate those details that are required under the Florida statutes now. We've amended the infrastructure to coordinate needed upgrades to treatment facilities to meet the future needs, prioritizing advanced water treatment, which would therefore discourage urban sprawl and conserve potable water resources. You'll see that with the added objectives in Exhibit 4, 1.8, and policies 1.8.1 and 1.8.2. We also added a definition of advanced waste treatment. These policies and other information found with Exhibit 4 and Exhibit 5 were all done with JEA to make sure the right information and language was used for those policies. Exhibit 5 amends the infrastructure element with additional policies directing the city to implement programs regarding the elimination of on-site septic. Those are policies 1.9 objective and 1.91 through 1.93. It also required a sanitary sewer feasibility analysis, which was put together by JEA, and that is in Exhibit 4. That gives a septic tank analysis, which includes septic tank phase-out criteria, evaluating 61 developments of 50 lots or more. Those would be developments that are currently on septic, and there's an analysis on each one of those areas for feasibility of phasing out those septic areas, and there's some cost analysis and so forth in that. Exhibit 6 has some definitions, and based on everything that I just described and the recommendations in the staff report, we forward a recommendation of approval. This was approved unanimously March 6, 2025 by the Planning Commission.
And the record for the longest report from the Planning Commission goes to, all right, Ms. Brola, thank you for the report. We're going to go to the speaker cards. The majority have filled out and checked the box that they did not wish to speak, but I have a couple who are still up. So James Matchett, followed by Linda Hall. Mr. Matchett. James Matchett, all right. He is in opposition. Linda Hall. Oh, he is. Oh, there he is. All right, Mr. Matchett, floor is yours.
I apologize. James Matchett, address is on file. A little bit slow this morning, this afternoon, trying to gather myself. Real simple. It's easy to just say we oppose. It's that middle language in there that we oppose. And the legislation is bad because we have some of you council members opting out of this because you understand the damage that this could cause going forward as the bill as is. What we're asking for is to reconsider and remove those items and those definitions so that it would make the bill stronger, better for both the developers and we, the community. It's just that simple as. Remove 1.1.1, 1.3.4, 1.3.6, and the definition. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Linda Hall. All right, Ms. Linda agrees with Mr. Matchett. She is in opposition. I will read through the rest of the cards in the record. Ed Ratloff in opposition. Elise Broche in opposition. I did want to speak. You do want to speak. Come on down. If you're a little late to the party there, one of the council members already talked about removing some of the language that has already been articulated as the community's opposition with the missing middle. But you're up, sir.
All right, thank you. Ed Radloff, name and address on file. I just wanted to thank you for the last 8 months, as I've stated in the council meetings, I've been coming down here. And because of these ordinances, I have met people from all over the city. And we have united in our fight on some of these ordinances that are being presented to change and put duplexes and triplexes into areas where it's single-family homes. I recently went by your area, council member Carrico, and went by and saw where the proposed townhomes are going there off of Forest Boulevard, and was kind of floored when I sat there and saw it firsthand and see with the speed humps and how it's tucked back there and it's right there at the fork. I think if council members would have gone by and taken a look at that area, they may have had a different view on it. I know I did when I went by there. And so what I would encourage members to do is on these issues where it's very highly, in opposition, go and look. I mean, and see exactly firsthand. It's one thing to see it firsthand. It's another thing to see it a picture, a satellite picture. The other thing is listen to the council members that live in the area. I sat here we had 2 ordinances up. One of them we won, the other one we lost. But the 2 council members who live in that area sat there and testified to the issues regarding that other one, and the residents were there with their concerns, but yet it still passed. And, when you have someone that lives in the area that's speaking against something, I think that says a lot. And I really think, the days of where a council member would get up and you had people that lived in the area speaking in opposition, council members would usually follow that council member and vote against it. And I don't see that happening anymore. Thank you very much, and I appreciate you guys withdrawing this tonight.
All right, thank you, sir. Elise Broche in opposition. Jacqueline Buckley in opposition. Wayne Van Doren in opposition. Keith Langenberg in opposition. Robert Brickman in opposition. Brenda Chandler in opposition. Willa Beer Friends, thanks for the phonetic spelling, in opposition. Don Hall in opposition. Patty Peterson in opposition. Alan Bott in opposition. Christy Stowers in opposition. Nicole Deneen Archie in opposition. Chrissy Bott in opposition. We always appreciate the dotted I's with hearts on Ms. Bott's card. Laura Backus in opposition, and Courtney Cockley in opposition. All right, that's the public hearing. So we are going to close the public hearing and bring this back to committee. And I have Councilman Arias, I think, wants to speak on an amendment before we move anything.
Thank you, Chair. So myself and Councilmember Joe Carlucci, and I'm assuming most colleagues here are in support of what I'm about to pass right now as an amendment, which would be similar to his. I just want to make sure that we're clear on the definition of the policies that we're going to exclude from the comp plan, which will be section 1.1.1, 1.3.4, 1.3.5, 1.3.6, and the definition of missing middle, Exhibit 6. That's what we want to remove from 0090. Mr. Reingold. Can I get a second? And then on top of that, Chair, sorry, I did have a conversation with Ms. Parola last week on solar facilities, and I was a little bit uneasy on this part, the floating portion of the solar facilities, and while I do like the innovation, I've actually toured a solar facility in Orlando when I did my League of Counties. Mr. Diamond, I actually, on the League of Counties, we went to tour the solar facilities, but all right, and so it was pretty impressive as it is. But however, the question is that I asked Ms. Parola, are there any here in Jacksonville right now? Ms. Parola, what was your answer to that? Through the chair.
For the floating solar facilities, I don't believe there are any right now, but there are many in Orange County, which is the Orlando area. That's what our research has shown. So it probably will be coming.
Right, and to the chair, my only ask would be that if we include this on the comp plan without really having any facilities on site in Jacksonville, we really don't have an example to go by. And one of the concerns that they had in Orange County was, the wildlife that are living under these panels. They're not going to be getting the sunlight, then the vegetation won't grow. Who's going to maintain the landscaping? And so while it's okay to have it on the comp plan, I think we need to have further discussions on the, parameters of these solar facilities, because it can't just be the wild, wild west when anybody could just build them and not worry about the wildlife and the environment around it. So I just want to put this on notice that we will have a conversation in more detail of that, and then once we have the information, we'll address it in this body. Thank you.
All right, and I did get a motion and a second on the areas amendment. Dylan, would you like to recall that for us?
Sure. So I just want to clarify one thing. In the amendment, I heard 1.1.1, 1.3.4, 1.3.5, 1.3.6, and then the definition in the Exhibit 6. The only modification I have to that is that when you look at policy 1.1.1 in the handout, I believe you mean to strike out the new language, but otherwise what currently exists in 1.1.1 would stay in the comp plan.
Through the chair to Mr. Reingold, 1.1.1 only reference to encouraging development of missing middle or medium density housing.
Great. So the rest of 1.1.1, which is in the comp plan, stays. That section comes out. Otherwise, the proposed 1.3.4, 3.5, and 3.6 will be deleted per this amendment.
That is correct, unless any other council members want to add anything else to that. Yeah.
So the motion has been moved and seconded. I have several members in the queue. Did you all want to speak to the amendment? Yes. Okay. Councilmember Johnson, you're recognized.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Mine is it's in the objective 1.2, where it says, and I guess maybe this is a question for Ms. Parola, where it says the availability of affordable and workforce housing by assisting, and then it goes into define in the highlighted section, it again says affordable and workforce housing. In my research, according to the Urban Land Institute, I get it, but we, in this particular piece of legislation, both say, in the amendment, still talk about affordable and workforce housing. I know this is about his amendment, but I want to talk about affordable and workforce housing being said as two separate things. So according to the Urban Land, which already says it in the comp plan, and according to the Urban Land Institute, workforce housing is defined as housing affordable to households between 60 and 120% of the AMI. So I wanted to know why we refer to it as two different things in the comp plan itself. I know this is something different, but it is in front of me, and it was easier through the chair, it was easier for me to refer to this, but in looking at the comp plan, which Ms. Abney sent me, I was able to see that language isn't reflected in the comp plan.
Understood. Through the chair to Councilmember Johnson. However, my point here is that what is up for discussion is the proposed Arias amendment, and the language that you're referring to, while it's part of what's being proposed to the comp plan changes in the bill, I'm just suggesting that part of the discussion be held after a consideration and a vote on the Arias amendment.
Thank you for the clarification. I'll go right back to you after we vote on the amendment, and we can continue that discussion. But if there's anything on the specifics to the areas amendment, which removes the 4 lines and the language. Mr. Gaffney, you're on the amendment?
Yes, sir.
All right, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I did owe my councilman amendment, so I definitely agree. But I guess to Dylan, do we need to go as far as removing our district for this bill as well and the comp plan, just to be on the safe side?
No. So on this one, there's no removal of districts. There's no map. That would have been a part of 868, but that bill has been withdrawn.
All right, all in favor of the areas amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. The amendment carries. All right, back. I have a motion and a second. I have a motion. Second. I have a motion second on the bill as amended. Councilman Amaro.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I too have an amendment before you that I wanted to offer, and it sort of parallels a lot of what Councilman Arias has offered. So I would like Mary to clarify the distinction. I don't want to be duplicative, but nevertheless, I want to achieve the same thing. And so I don't know, I know Mr. Carlucci had offered something as well. If at the end we're going to consolidate and let it be the Amaro Arias Carlucci amendment. But Mary, if you can clarify for me, please.
Sure. Through the chair to the committee, and Mr. Reingold is also on deck in case I miss anything. But aside from the removal of references or the additional language pertaining to missing middle, which that has been accomplished through the Arias amendment, in the handout that you have provided to you, we've highlighted the areas where Councilmember Amaro is proposing the changes, and that those that would be in addition to what was addressed in the Arias amendment that was just approved. On page 5, at the bottom, under Objective 1.2, Councilmember Amaro is proposing to define affordable and workforce housing to supplement the addition of affordable and workforce housing that was proposed in the original bill, which was what Dr. Johnson was addressing earlier in the conversation. So it would be to add the proposed language to define what affordable and workforce housing are. Turning again to page 9 of the exhibit on 1.3.4, while the Arias amendment would have already addressed removal of the words construction of missing middle housing, the additional change pursuant to the Amaro amendment would be to remove the language that states with the goal of doubling the amount of multifamily zoned land in the city. And then what it went on to do was also delete the language at the top of page 10 with respect to permitting duplexes, triplexes, and quadruplexes, permitting low-density multifamily dwelling units, permitting corner lot duplexes, permitting increased densities in residential medium density, and providing parking reductions for attainable and workforce affordable housing. Those would also all be removed in the Councilmember Amaro proposed amendment. And I believe those are the primary changes that are outside what was already addressed in the Arias amendment, because the Arias amendment already has eliminated 1.3.6 and addressed 1.3.5, which is not addressed in the Amaro amendment.
Thank you, Mary, through the chair. So if we can get a motion to consolidate, I guess, collapse, is that the proper posture now, or? So,
Mr. Amaro, you would want to move those portions of the amendment as your amendment, and you get a second for if you get a second, then you would have discussion on that, and we can discuss rolling it up all at the end if both amendments are approved.
Okay.
So you want to make a motion?
I move that we move the amended changes as being proposed right now. Do I get a second?
All right, we have a motion and a second, and we will go around the dais in order received for questions. Mr. Carlucci, are you on this amendment? Mr. Harris, are you on this amendment? Yes, sir. You are recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Ms. Stefopoulos, the only difference between my amendment and this one would be you referenced permitting duplexes, permitting corner lot, permitting increased densities, providing parking, all that on 1.3.4. However, I already had that on mine. The only real difference would be, as Dr. Johnson alluded to, was 1.2, which is the affordable and workforce housing component. That's really the only difference that we have to add to my amendment. So just wanted to make it easier for you to understand.
Thank you. I appreciate the clarification that 1.3.4, all those changes were already addressed. So really, you were correct. We're only dealing with objective 1.2, and thank you very much for that clarification.
All right, thank you.
For everyone's clarity, can you read that into the record one more time? What exactly the amendment adds to?
Yes, of course. So objective 1.2, it would add definitions for affordable and workforce housing to state that affordable and workforce housing shall mean those projects that are developed pursuant to any federally or state-funded grants or appropriations that provide compliance requirements for affordability, compliance verification through auditing or some other verification and oversight of the development by the federal or state issuing agency. Furthermore, eligible affordable or workforce projects must include an affordability compliance duration of at least 20 years.
So we're striking that?
No, sir. That is an
Adding it.
addition
Okay.
that's being made.
All right, Councilmember Gaffney.
Thank you to the chair, and excuse my ignorance. Why is this language needed? And maybe one of them ahead. I'm not sure who this is a question for in terms of maybe Councilman Amaro. In terms of why this language is needed, we need to add it.
It needed for two reasons: to fulfill the definition, and number two, to have that stated period so that no one makes an investment in a property and flips it in shorter than 20 years.
All right, thank you.
Councilmember Johnson.
Am I okay to speak, Mr. Chair, on this? I mean, I don't want the attorneys to tell me that am I good? Okay, I want to make sure that we're in the proper place. It is a bit confusing to have both workforce and affordable housing in the same space. Can someone explain to me, maybe through the chair to planning or Councilmember Amaro or somebody, why we're using, because in the research that I've done, it seems as though those terms you can use them interchangeably, but when you look at the true definition of them, it says that workforce housing, and then it goes into the 60 to 120% of the AMI.
Yes, through the chair to Councilman Johnson. The affordable workforce language is straight from the state requirements. They basically state that we need to address affordable workforce housing, which is why you'll see amendments throughout the policies that add the word workforce or add the word affordable, where we only have one or the other, to show that we are addressing both.
You just, if I may, please, to the chair, you just said affordable workforce housing, whereas it says affordable and workforce housing here, which appears to be two different things.
It is two different things according to what we do in the local level when I worked with the housing division to come up with these provisions.
So therefore, my question then is, can you explain to me the difference between the two? Because that's what I've not been able to find.
The affordable workforce housing, that term is...
No, excuse me. I'm so sorry. I apologize. You just said again, affordable workforce housing. This in the document says affordable and workforce housing, which would lead one to believe that they're two different things. You just said affordable workforce housing. So which one is it? Is it affordable or is it affordable workforce housing?
There are two different things. On the local level, we look at affordable housing at 51% to 80% AMI. And we look at workforce housing at 81% to 120% AMI. And we have different programs that address all of it or some of that. Maybe they address affordable housing, maybe it addresses workforce and affordable housing. We, on the local level, use the term and. On the state level, they put out a requirement that we address, and they state it as affordable workforce housing. So that's why you're hearing it all together. And they find that it is defined by meaning housing that is affordable to a person who earns less than 120% of the area median income, which on the local level, that is our affordable housing requirement and our workforce housing requirement. So I'm having to use the term that the state uses because they're requiring us to address it, but we are addressing it with an and or an or because our local programs sometimes address affordable and workforce, or they address one or the other.
Understood. Thank you for the clarification.
All right, we're still on the amendment. Anyone need to speak on that? All in favor of the amendment, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. The amendment carries. So now we need to move the bill as twice amended. Oh, Miss Parola has been in the queue, I'm sorry, and then Mr. Reingold, and then Mr. Carlucci before we start rolling and adding and doing all that good stuff. Ms. Parola.
Thank you. Through the chair, the amendment to Objective 1.2, my only concern is that it's for federally and state-funded grants or appropriations, and I'm wondering if we should put the term local, because there are some local programs that would help the city meet those affordable housing requirements on the state level. And I'm not sure, I don't know if there's a housing representative here, but I'm not sure if those local programs are associated with state programs or not. So I don't know if we can add the word local in there.
Who would that be? JHA? I don't think anyone's here from there. We have no. So you're suggesting we add the word local. All right, someone can move it.
Through the chair, I'm comfortable with that because the objective is to protect and ensure that these properties are guaranteed to meet the threshold and that whoever owns it holds that property for at least 20 years. So if local fits in, I'm okay with adding local language to it.
All right, that is the motion.
Let's move the bill.
Second.
Second, sorry.
We've got a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. The amendment carries.
Let's move the bill.
Mr. Reingold is dying to talk here. Can we let him speak? And then Mr. Carlucci, I think, has another amendment, and then we'll move bill as amended. Mr. Reingold, you're recognized.
Well, I just want to check something, and through Ms. Parola, we now have a definition in Objective 1.2 of what affordable and workforce housing is. Are there other definitions of affordable and workforce housing that are in the comp plan that we somehow now need to massage differences between?
I would ask that we do our massaging between now and next Tuesday, if that's the case, unless you have an available response from Ms. Parola.
And if that requires, if we're just being transparent and saying, hey, we need to work on a floor amendment between now and then, I just don't want to have inconsistencies as to definitions because of this change.
All right, we'll go to Councilman Johnson on this topic.
Real quickly, unfortunately, Mr. Chair, I have been spending a lot of time combing through the comp plan. Thank you again, Ms. Abney. And it is exactly what Mr. Reingold has said. Those inconsistencies do exist, which is why my question came up in the beginning. There's no way we can handle all of that tonight, so I agree. I think it'd be best for us to have a floor amendment that we vote on when we go to council meeting on Tuesday. Oh, well, then we got time then. Yeah.
A lot of conversations up here. All right, everybody. Good. Does anyone need to speak? Let's go to Ms. Stefopoulos.
Yeah, I apologize. So just to put on the record what I said verbally while they're working through the comp plan. So the Neighborhoods Committee deferred consideration of this item so that LUZ could take it up first. And then it will go back to neighborhoods, absent being discharged by the president. I believe the intent is that he would not discharge it so that it can go to neighborhoods and travel with the LUZ amendment. So there would be an opportunity to do additional cleanup at neighborhoods before we get it to the floor of council for action after that. So it's going to have some opportunity that we wouldn't normally have otherwise had.
All right. I think that satisfies everyone's concern. Yes? All right. Mr. Carlucci.
All right. So we've got all those amendments done. I can offer just one small tweak as well. Okay. We voted on the tomorrow. Okay, we did. Good. Yep, me too.
All in favor of the latest amendment, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. That amendment passes. Mr. Carlucci, you're recognized.
Great. Good job. All right. So turning to page 10 of 19, 1.3.5, the city shall allow ADUs, accessory dwelling units, in all residential zoning districts. I thought that we did a bill on this it's only allowed on homesteaded properties. I just want to make sure that this isn't going to trump what we just did with that bill.
No, through the chair to Councilman Carlucci, this will not affect what is in the zoning code. So this allows the accessory dwelling units in all residential zoning districts, but you still have to meet the requirements of the zoning code, which would have that homestead information.
Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure we weren't, just forgetting about that. Thank you.
Mr. Engel?
Just to clarify, 1.3.5 was already removed already, so there's nothing we need to do with that provision.
Oh, good deal. Well, then never mind. Thank you, Councilmember Arias. Appreciate it, yeah.
Okay.
A lot of numbers, Okay, thank you.
All right, so now I need the bill moved as 3 times amended.
And no, we're going to roll them up. We'll have one LUZ amendment, but I will welcome to hear how you would like me to explain the full LUZ amendment.
I have Councilman Amaro on the queue.
Just for clarity, through the chair to Mr. Dillon and Ms. Parola, removing 1.3.5, does that create any problem with our present comp plan?
Through the chair to Councilman Amaro, it should not create a problem. We have a similar policy in the future land use element that already allows accessory dwelling units. This is just kind of a restatement of that to show the state that we are meeting the requirements for affordable housing. I can point that out to the state that that type of policy is already in the future land use element.
All right, friends, just so we're all in the same posture, we had an Arias amendment, we had an Amaro amendment, and then we had an amendment that complemented the Amaro amendment. So I need a motion as 3 times amended.
So I'm going to motion as one-time amendment, as an LUZ amendment, and Mr. Reingold will bundle all that up together. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Would you like to explain the bundle?
I would be delighted to explain the bundle.
Thank you,
so
sir.
the components added together is the deletion of the additional portion to 1.1.1. You then remove 1.3.4, 1.3.5, and 1.3.6. This is all in Exhibit 1. You also remove the definition in Exhibit 6. And then as part of the Amaro amendment, as was slightly modified, was that Objective 1.2 will contain the language that affordable and workforce housing shall mean those projects that are developed pursuant to any federal, state, or locally funded grants or appropriations that provide compliance requirements for affordability compliance verification through auditing or some other verification and oversight of the development by the federal, state, or local housing agency. Furthermore, eligible affordable or workforce projects must include an affordability compliance duration of at least 20 years. And with that, I turn it back over to the chair.
Thank you very much. So that is our rolled up explanation of the amendments, which have already been voted on. So now we're just voting on the bill as amended, as explained by Mr. Reingold. No one's in the queue. Please open the ballot and record your vote.
7 yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-0090. All right. Moving on. Item 7, 2025-0091. Let's open the public hearing. We have no speaker cards. We'll continue that public hearing until 4:15:25. Item number 8, 2025-0102. Let's open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you. This is ordinance 2025-0102, which is legislation introduced by Councilman Carlucci, and it is including a substitute presented at the Neighborhoods and Rules Committee, which is seeking to amend the zoning code sections 656.1206 and 1208. This would include reducing the minimum size of a replacement tree required in code from 4-inch caliber to a 2-inch caliber. It would allow for clustering of trees if approved by the city arborist, urban forester, or a landscape architect. And it also includes a waiver of monetary contributions related to tree removal if the project is developed or redeveloped with affordable housing. Staff reviewed the legislation and had the original legislation and had concerns, finding that it will have a negative long-term impact on Jacksonville's ability to protect the health, safety, and welfare of all the residents. Trees improve air quality, reduce the amount of energy needed to cool buildings, provide shade, absorb stormwater, increase property values, and also enhance Jacksonville's beauty. As development throughout the city increases, the city is losing significant trees. The original proposal would decrease the current methods of mitigating for canopy loss and tree cover due to the development in all of the land use categories. With the substitute, the department's concerns have been addressed. The substitute allows the funding to be allocated in the tree protection and related expense funds to cover more positions and equipment in order to provide more trees throughout the city. With these changes, the department is in support of the proposed legislation. Application was heard by Planning Commission on March 20th, where the substitute was provided to the commission in a draft form. There was one speaker with Scenic Jacks who was in support of the draft as they worked with the council member for the proposed amendment. So after review and discussion of those proposed changes, the commission voted unanimously for approval.
All right, thank you for that. We've got two speaker cards. First is Nancy Powell, followed by Susan Grandin.
Good evening. Nancy and I are switching places, if that's all right, Mr. Chair. Susan Grandin, 4146 San Juan Avenue. I'm representing Scenic Jacksonville. And we're pleased to say we did work with Councilman Joe Carlucci on this substitute, and very excited about that. I was the Tree Commission attorney for several years, and I saw firsthand that really the Tree Commission was struggling to try to respond to plans that were brought to them, which is what they do. They're an advisory committee. They don't actually do the plans because there was not enough staff to actually plan, design, implement, maintain, inspect, that type of thing of the tree fund projects. So the projects that can go into the ground, funded by the tree fund, have to go on public property. But there was only one person, excuse me, that was, as a part of the settlement that we entered into, the city of Jacksonville entered into back in about 2017, one city arborist was allowed to be paid for out of the Tree Protection and Related Expenses Trust Fund. But it became clear that as the amount grew in the tree fund, it's up over $20 million now. One city arborist can't do it. So there needs to be more staff in public works to help get this going so we can get some trees planted. Again, the Tree Commission is just reaction to what's brought to them. They're kind of like the Planning Commission. They just give an advisory opinion about the plans that are brought to them. So if we don't have more plans brought to the Tree Commission, they can't approve it and send it on to the Mayor's Budget Review Committee so they can approve it and get the trees in the ground. So either those staff people have to come out of the general fund, or they can come out of the Tree Protection and Related Expenses Trust Fund, so long as they work exclusively on those projects, just on the projects of planting trees on public property with the funds from the tree fund. So that's just a wonderful thing, and we just thank Councilman Carlucci so much for doing that, because it's been necessary. I mean, that's been brought up for 3 years at least in the Tree Commission meeting. So we're very supportive of that. Nancy, I think, is going to talk about a little bit about the rest of the bill, but I just wanted to say thank you very much for that. It's very important, and if you have any questions about that, I'm happy to answer it.
All right, thank you. Certainly good to see you back. Miss Nancy Powell.
Hi, Nancy Powell, Scenic Jacksonville, Executive Director. I'm at 1848 Challen Avenue, and we are so fortunate to have Susan Grandin now on our board, as you can see her expertise. We are pleased with the substitute bill 2025-102 and the staffing. I will just say that I heard the concerns this morning about some of the staffing, and I assure you that those involved with the settlement agreement were similarly concerned, which is why they only allocated one arborist. But we've been at it now for 8 years, and so it's really important that we work on replenishing the tree canopy, getting more trees in the ground, because the reason why the fund is even is because we got a lot coming in from trees being cut down. And so we have to go out and replenish the tree canopy and expand it. The heat index is not getting any lower. And importantly, that the city will be able to measure the impact of this over the next few years. We understand Councilman Carlucci is going to propose an amendment for a 5-year sunset clause of the affordable housing component, and we support that amendment because at this time there really is no impact analysis of that part of the ordinance. But that amendment would allow time for the ordinance to work, and we could then, or the city could evaluate its effectiveness. We just heard the conversation about affordable housing definitions, and that was one of our concerns here too, is that the intention is that they're real affordable housing with all of the stipulations that you just heard, and not just somebody saying, I'm building affordable housing. You may know that the city is undertaking an urban forest management plan under the Resilience Office, and that will also provide direction, tactics, and goals, best practice methods on planting trees in the locations needed most effectively and efficiently. We are fortunate to have the Tree Commission overseeing the Tree Mitigation Fund, including Council Representative Chris Miller and previously Ron Salem, so they are very familiar with it. The Tree Commission members are dedicated volunteer experts with an important role, especially in this time where we need to really work on cooling our city. In the future, we would recommend having legislation be presented to the Tree Commission during the process because that would allow for their deliberation and recommendation, even if it's not formally part of the process. So, thank you very much.
All right, that was our last speaker. So we will close the public hearing, bring it back to committee. Before we start moving stuff, what we're going to do is verbally approve the substitute first, and then if there's an amendment to add to that, we'll call on the amendment introducer, which is Mr. Carlucci. So if you could move the substitute. All right, all in favor of the neighborhood substitute signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Substitute carries. Now, Mr. Carlucci.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the committee for supporting the neighborhood substitute. This has it's definitely been a laborious bill, but it is going to produce great fruit. Ha! Tree joke. Anyways, all right. The amendment should be in front of you here. Yeah, you like that? I know. I couldn't help myself. I'm in the thick of dad jokes right now. So. All right, so the amendment that you have in front of you, just so you can read it, it's just bullet pointed out so everyone can see. Ultimately, what it's going to do is it's going to add a sunset provision to the affordable housing component of this, where the bill, as it stands right now, if you're building affordable housing or workforce housing, you are getting a waiver on the ordinance dollar amount, and then you still have to pay into the charter account, so you're only getting... there's two accounts. You're getting one of them waived. The other one you're still paying into. So the waiver just applies to the ordinance account, but then that will go away in 5 years as long as council approves that. And again, that was to Ms. Powell's point, wherever she went. I can't see her. Just to make sure that, look, we don't want it to get out of hand. We want it to be doing what it's meant to do, which is provide a little bit of relief to those companies and businesses and nonprofits that are building affordable housing and keeping their costs as low as possible, so they're keeping their rents in line and keeping their folks that's not just another pass through. So with that, I will move the Carlucci amendment and ask for a second.
I have a motion and a second by Councilmember Gaffney and Councilmember Ayers on the amendment.
Thank you, Chair. Through the chair to Councilmember Carlucci. So I just want to clarify: are you saying so? There's two pockets of money, the charter account and the ordinance account, correct? And you're saying right now that the affordable housing component, they're waiving the charter portion of it, and they're waiving the ordinance portion of it, and you're asking to waive also the charter portion.
Through the chair to Councilmember Arias. No, all it's saying is that the waiver is just for the ordinance, but as the bill stands right now, that's just in perpetuity. That'll stay there. That waiver will sunset in 5 years. It'll come back to council in 5 years, and if we can reevaluate at that point, just to make sure it doesn't sit out there for year after year, and then all of a sudden we run into a some type of crazy shortage because one waiver. So
Okay.
that's all.
So through the chair, just to clarify then, the goal would be to sunset any waivers for anybody, and right now in this case, the affordable housing component, the developers that are building affordable housings, right? Because we're not adding more waivers for them to be able to, I guess, not pay into this fund, right? So my goal right now is that I want to make sure that we're not only supporting developers of affordable housing, because we have small businesses that are also trying to build, and they're also getting hammered by these fees. My property, for example, I have to pay $30,000 to remove some trees. So I want to make sure that if we're going to protect one entity, we protect all of them, including small businesses. So are you adding more to this, more protection, or are you sunsetting something to not have more protections for other people?
Yeah, so through the chair to Councilmember Arias, now I hear what you're saying. Ultimately, it was just viewed, there was a conversation that happened at Tree Commission that got brought up as, hey, if there's a way to incentivize just the affordable housing and just the workforce development, developers, because ultimately what happens is they're just going to pass that through to folks who are already trying to make every dollar count. So the waiver is just applied to them. And in full disclosure, Councilman Arias, I would rather it apply to everybody, but there is a massive wave of resistance to that. That's why I wouldn't introduce that. But if you want to explore that option, I would prefer. Number one, I would yield caution to that and have meetings, and then obviously we can always amend this later down the road to include other businesses. Sorry, that was long-winded, but
Yeah,
hope you appreciate it.
Through the chair. So yeah, I definitely hear you on that part, and I'll be supportive of this amendment. Just to the Tree Commission out there, I want to make sure that we're sitting on $20 million of cash that comes in around $6 million per year. We're having to hire more people now to see how we could even use it. So my suggestion would be either putting a moratorium on this tree fund for now until we start using dollars, or just start giving more waivers to people, especially small businesses that are trying to do more for our community, to bring more jobs, to employ people. The problem is that costs of goods are going up, construction costs are going up, labor, everything, and now to have more money being taken out of these small businesses to give you guys, and you guys are just sitting with it, not doing anything with it. It's like, why are we even paying into it? So while I hear your concern, Mr. Carlucci, I personally, for one, would just want to put a moratorium on the tree fund for now until they start using dollars. Otherwise, we just continue to give them money and money and money, and at one point, we're going to get to $30, $40 million, and what, right? So that's just my thought on that. I get your reason to cautioning it, so thank you.
You can reply to that, Mr.
Just one thing,
Carlucci.
and I just for the sake of timeline and everything, that's where I started. Number one, you can't do a moratorium. Tried to do that. Tried to push pause, because again, we have $20 million. Tried to do that. Legally, you can't do it. Secondly, it was, okay, the spigot, let's turn the spigot on half blast and do it for all businesses, everyone across the city. That was met with extreme resistance, more resistance for my appetite. So that's believe me, every comment that you said was said in a meeting directly with a lot of folks. So I hear you on that for sure. And thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, Councilman Diamond.
Yeah, just very briefly, not reiterating what we talked about in finance today, no purpose in that, but on Councilman Arias' point, I mentioned this, it's like we've collected $20 million and haven't spent it, then we've taken too much money from people. And so if we're looking for a waiver, I like the idea of homesteaded property. If somebody has bought a lot in Jacksonville and they're trying to build their family a home, why wouldn't we give them the waiver for tree mitigation? Because that's a family that's trying to build their home. Likewise, I like the idea of waivers for low-income housing. The other one we can do, we really can cut the fee, and if we cut the fee, there'll be more homes built in Jacksonville, and that money literally comes out of people who are trying to buy their first home out of their pocket, out of veterans who are coming here to retire. It's coming out of their pocket. The developers are not eating that; they're passing that on to the people buying the home. And so, to me, if we're here a year from now and there's still $20 million in there, we absolutely need to figure out how to fix that fee. Thanks.
All right. I've had Councilman Romero so patient, but I feel like you're going to be concise and to the point in the middle of a relevant conversation. Go ahead, Mr. Carlucci.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just very quickly, through the chair to Mr. Carlucci. I may have missed it. Why is the waiver necessary to begin with, since we're in this vein here, where it seems like a waiver promotes some sort of discrimination between others? Why is it necessary? I mean, can we make it work without the waiver?
Right, through the chair to Councilmember Morrow. Really, the waiver just came about because when you sit down with like Habitat for Humanity and they're building single-family homes and they have to pay in, I think, in one instance they built about 17 single-family homes. Their tree fund, fine or whatever was like $600,000. And I think, actually, I'll have to go back and check the numbers. Ultimately, what their argument is, hey, look, that's not money that we're just going to put back in our pocket. That's money that we're having to take away from, mortgage assistance from folks who are buying those first homes. So it's a culmination of a lot of conversations, a lot of work, a lot of compromise, and I would ask, for y'all's support on that.
All right. Did you want to speak again, Mr. Carlucci?
Yeah, just to Councilmember Diamond's point, when we had these conversations, just for everyone's clarity, I made it very clear, because again, I started at, we're tired of all this money flowing into this account and not going anywhere. And if I can get some head shakes from Ms. Grandin and Ms. Powell, they know that. And then we compromised, we backpedaled, and I said, look, I'll give you 2 years to show me that this staff is truly what you need to get the goal accomplished of the tree fund, which is plant more trees with already the money that we have in the account. I said, and if we get to the end of 2 years and everything's still the same, I said another bill is going to get filed to rectify the money just sitting there. So just again, full transparency, that was discussed in these meetings. It was not all about just keeping everything kind of on that course. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. And we are going to now vote on your amendment. All in favor of the Carlucci amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. The amendment carries. Mr. Vice Chair, I would like you to get on the microphone and explain what's going on, sir. Got to get it on the record, sir.
Sure, thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Romero, for reminding me. We are going to move the bill as substitute and rolling it up as an LUZ substitute.
All right. All in favor of that? No, we're on the board now. Yes. All right, open up the ballot, record the vote.
Seven yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-0102 as substituted. All right, and amended. Number 9, 2025-0128. I understand the district councilman has a request. Mr. Gaffney?
Yeah, thank you through the chair. I would like to defer this legislation one cycle. I met with the applicant a few minutes ago in the green room. I wasn't at city council last week, and I had a few individuals come to city council meeting last week to voice their displeasure in reference to this legislation. So I need 2 more weeks, I guess, to sort out this bill. But the applicant is here, just in case he want to, Mr. Patel, if you want to come up, it should take 1 minute, y'all. So it'll be the next 2 bills, 2025.
Right, let me just talk to legal real quick. I plan on deferring this as the chair at the request of the council member. Can he come and speak, or does that mean we have to open up the public hearing and go through all the cards? Or
there is a public hearing scheduled for tonight.
So to the
extent folks want to speak, they have the right to speak.
Okay. Right. So we'll open the public hearing then, and
I got to speak.
we have 1 card. So Mr. Patel, come on down, and then I'll defer it after we close the public hearing. Continue the public hearing.
Yeah, Mr. Patel, through the chair, I just want you to confirm that we met in the green room and that we both agreed to defer this bill until one cycle 2 weeks from now.
Yes, Councilman, I'm okay with that for 2 weeks.
All right, you got to give us your name and address for the record and fill out a green card because you came down to speak.
Okay.
All right. Legislative Services will get you a card. And can you give your name and address?
Nilay Patel, address 15687 Stedman Lake Drive, Jacksonville, Florida, 32218.
All right, thank you for that. We're gonna, what's the date? I'm gonna continue this. We're gonna continue this public hearing until 4/15/2025. I have full faith and confidence that Councilman Gaffney will get his community together and make sure they come up with some kind of resolution. So we will now move on to item 10, 2025-0129. We're gonna open that public hearing. We have no speaker cards. We're gonna continue that public hearing until 4/15/25 at the request of Councilmember Gaffney. Item number 11, 2025-0130. Let's open the public hearing and get staff report.
Thank you. Ordinance 2025-130 is a small-scale land use amendment. The request is to go from low-density residential to medium-density residential. This is a 1.68-acre site on the west side of Old Middleburg Road between No Road and Four Acre Road. Old Middleburg Road and Four Acre Road are both collector roadways. The request is for townhomes on the site, and the medium-density residential would allow a maximum of 20 units per acre. However, the companion zoning that comes next to RMDA will limit the density further. The site is currently cleared and vacant. The west side of Old Middleburg Road includes single-family residential subdivisions and open space vacant land in the low-density residential land use category. Across the street on the east side of Old Middleburg Road are single-family subdivisions in the medium-density residential category. Water and sewer is available to the site, and this is on a collector road. It results in a compatible land use pattern and development with the residential uses along Old Middleburg Road. It is the development of an underutilized property, provides development of a different housing typology, and maintains residential development pattern with complementary residential use. We find this to be consistent with the policies of the comprehensive plan, and we forward a recommendation of approval. On March 20th, 2025, the Planning Commission recommended unanimously to approve.
All right, thank you for that. We have no speaker cards. We will close the public hearing and bring it back to committee. Have a motion and a second on the bill. If no one in the queue, please open the ballot, record your vote.
Six yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you have approved 2025-0130. Item number 12, 2025-0131. Please declare any ex parte communication you may have at this time. Seeing none, let's open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is the companion conventional rezoning ordinance 2025-131, which seeks to rezone approximately 1.68 acres of land from RR Acre to RMDA to develop townhomes. The property is located along Old Middleburg Road North between No Road and Four Acre Road. Old Middleburg Road is classified as a collector roadway, and this particular section of Old Middleburg Road from 103rd Street to Wilson Boulevard is operating at a 63% capacity. Much of the surrounding area is primarily residential with single-family subdivisions located to the north, south, and east of the property. There is a multifamily apartment complex owned by the Jacksonville Housing Authority located a little under a half-mile north of the property along Gregory Drive. Staff finds the request compatible with the surrounding area and consistent with the 2045 comprehensive plan and forwards a recommendation of approval. This item was heard at the March 20th Planning Commission. There were no speakers present and little discussion among the commissioners. The commissioners voted unanimously for approval.
All right, thank you for that. Councilman Gaffney, you recognized?
Yeah, thank you through the chair. It's Mr. Patrick is here. The applicant. I just had a question about the development.
He's asking if Patrick Honor?
Honor, you did it right. You said it right.
No speaker cards? Close the public hearing. What are you going to do, Mr. Gaffney?
I think we need to defer this. I had it's a simple question. I mean, I don't want to defer it. It's a simple question, but I mean, it's it's up to the committee in terms of what you guys want to do. I know. Well,
got the mic.
Let's we'll defer. And if my colleagues opposed to deferring it, I mean, I'm open to, voting for it, and we could, vote Tuesday. But we'll see what my rest of my colleagues have to say.
Councilman Carlucci?
Yeah, I'd be up for a deferral. I mean, I think it's just consistent with how we do things here. If you've got a bill that's up for action, applicant, I'm a firm believer that you need to be here. So,
all right, Mr. Reingold, do you want to weigh in?
Well, you've approved the companion small-scale amendment already, so you might want to, I don't know if you want to reconsider that vote and then tee yourself up so both of them are deferred, if that's the direction of the committee.
Councilman Johnson.
Move to reconsider.
A motion is second to reconsider. Open the ballot and record your vote. All right, I'm listening.
Mr. Chair, so right now we're on item number 12, 2025-131. If the will of the committee is to defer this item, then you need to continue the public hearing to 4/15/25. And then you go back and take up a motion to reconsider 2025-130. And then if that is approved, the reconsideration is approved, then you would open the public hearing and continue that public hearing to 4/15/25.
And that's why we pay the big bucks. Only you can wrangle this group. All right, so we are on 0131. Let's continue that public hearing till April 15th. And now I will call on Councilmember Johnson.
Mr. Chair, based on what we've seen, I'd like to move to reconsider.
We already have a second.
A pre-second.
So that is a ballot vote, if I'm correct. We're going to open the ballot on the reconsider, which has been moved and seconded by Mr. Diamond. Open the ballot and move. All in favor of the reconsider signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. We're going to reconsider item 11, 2025-0130. I'm going to open the public hearing, state that there's no additional speaker cards. I'm going to continue that public hearing till 4:15. How do we do? All right, moving on. Item 13, 2025-0132. Please clear any ex parte communication that you may have. Seeing none, let's open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you. This is PUD rezoning ordinance 2025-0132, which is seeking to rezone approximately 1.8 acres of land from a PUD that was approved in 2007 to a new PUD in order to add the use of alcohol sales in connection with a restaurant, including outside seating, to the allowed uses, which can only be accomplished through a new rezoning. The PUD also includes a waiver from Part 8 requirements for minimum distance limitations between a liquor license location and a church or school. The reduction is from 500 feet to 320 feet. This would be for the St. George Church, which is located at 6300 Bowden Road. The consumption of alcohol on the property is not directly visible from the church and is physically separated. The subject property is developed as a commercial shopping center, which allows for neighborhood commercial uses. The 2007 PUD had a couple of conditions that were related to an allowed car rental business, and those conditions have been incorporated into the new written description, so we're not forwarding any conditions onto the new PUD. The staff has reviewed the request and finds that the proposed rezoning is consistent with the comp plan with an existing land use category of neighborhood commercial, which does allow for all the proposed uses within the written description. We find it furthers the goals and objectives of the comp plan by establishing a well-balanced combination of residential and non-residential type uses. The subject property is located on the south side of Bowden Road, which is a collector roadway, with the north side of Bowden Road being developed with single-family dwellings. There's multifamily to the south and west, and there's other industrial and office park complexes in the surrounding area. The property will provide neighborhood commercials for the surrounding area and meets the needs of the community. We find it meets the internal and external compatibility factors, and the additional use we find to be appropriate for the area, so we forward a recommendation of approval with the 3 exhibits in the staff report. The application was heard by Planning Commission on March 20th. There were no speakers in opposition, and they voted unanimously for approval.
Thank you very much. I have two speaker cards. One is sitting right in front of me, Miss Cindy Trimmer, which I'm sure you're going to tell me all the good things happening in my district here on the same road that I travel every day to take my daughter to school. Please tell us about it.
Only good things in your district. Cindy Trimmer, 1 Independent Drive, Suite 1200 on behalf of the applicant. This one's really straightforward. Aaron covered most of it. It's a small shopping center that has a mix of uses. They lost one of their restaurant tenants trying to get that space filled, and the restaurant operators all need alcohol to be successful, so that's the whole purpose of the application. And with that, I will hear who else wants to speak and be available for questions.
All right, next card is David Buffalino.
Hi, my name is David Buffalino. I live in Southside, down by the Hooters and the hospital. My issue is potholes. On my street, I have several potholes.
Can you stick to the bill, please, Mr. David?
I'm sorry?
You got to stick to the bill. We're not talking about potholes. Are you here to speak about the restaurant? The liquor waiver?
You got me.
All right, I know what's going on here. All right, sir. We thank you for coming out. Ms. Trimmer, I did want to know what restaurant closed and what's going in there. That would be helpful.
Through the chair. Through the chair, they're looking to fill the Mr. Taco space.
All right, gotcha. I know exactly where it is. Mr. Taco. All right, that's all the speakers, and I don't have any other questions. No in the queue. Let's close this public hearing. I have a motion and a second on the amendment. Mr. Reingold, can you explain the amendment?
There were several owners listed in the bill, and in the title and the body of the bill, one of the owners' names was slightly incorrect, so I just wanted to correct that reference and make sure all the owners' names were proper.
All right, all in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. The amendment carries. I have a motion and a second on the bill as amended. You know, Reggie used to be my vice chair. He's a lot smoother than the current one. Please open the ballot and record your vote.
Six yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-0132. Moving on to item 14, 2025-0159. Let's open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you. This is ordinance 2025-0159, legislation introduced by Councilman Carlucci, seeking to amend the zoning code to prohibit mobile food vehicles from preparing or selling food or beverages on a property in commercial or industrial zoning districts which sell gasoline or other flammable petroleum products. These zoning districts would include CCG1, CCG2, industrial light, industrial heavy, and commercial neighborhood. This amendment is a result of concerns related to potential safety hazards of operating mobile kitchens in close proximity to gasoline and diesel fuel pumps where flammable fumes might be present. Currently, the zoning code does not regulate food trucks as they are viewed as a transient business and operate from a mobile unit, lacking a fixed permanent location, and therefore permitted in most zoning districts. This code change would not affect the existing regulations for mobile food vendors under Section 250, which sets standards for licenses and permitting. But this would set regulations in the zoning code, Chapter 656. Planning Department is supportive of the amendment, but we do recommend adding those proposed legislative changes to the Section 250, which does set regulations for vending areas for mobile food vendors in both the downtown Jacksonville area and all other areas in Jacksonville. But we are supportive and recommend approval for the proposed legislation. Application was heard by Planning Commission on March 20th, where there were no speakers in opposition and little discussion, and they voted unanimously for approval.
Well, thank you very much. Do we have any speaker cards? No. We have one speaker card. James Matchett.
James Matchett, address is on file. being that this is the 1st of April, I would have hoped that this was an April Fool joke. This is America, the land of opportunity, or is it? Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Stop looking for handouts. These food trucks are a starting point for development of small business entrepreneurship. The food truck serves as economic incubators that serve niche markets, requiring them not to be on gas stations, just limit where they can be, how they can function, and how they can develop this element of support. Most of them serve culinary delights to small markets that does not lend itself affordable to going into building institutions. I understand the safety concern, but we already have health departments and we already have people looking at this. We can find a way to help mitigate any other safety concerns by working with the vendors instead of simply prohibiting them from being there, thus putting another burden on them. We should try to do our best to inspire this economic opportunity that these people have found in doing something that not only serves their interests, but serves the interests of certain communities when they're looking out for something. You know, today is Tuesday. There's a taco truck up there on Dunn Avenue that serves some pretty good tacos. I would hate to see that he cannot be in that gas station no more. I wouldn't know where to find those pretty decent tacos at. So just consider that doing this while in the name of safety is actually limiting small business entrepreneurship. Thank you.
Right. That's our last card. So we will close the public hearing, bring it back to committee, and go through the queue. We'll start with the bill sponsor, Mr. Carlucci.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to, I don't know what posture we need to be in. There's a current amendment, but I also want to ask Mary to explain another amendment that Planning Department recommended. So is now the right time to do that, or do you want
I just wanted to hear from you first. We'll go ahead and vote the amendment up.
Okay.
I don't think there'll be too much discussion on that, and then
Okay.
I'll go back to you. How about that?
Sure.
All right. Can I get a motion on the amendment? I have a motion and a second on the amendment. Mr. Reingold, do you want to explain it for us?
Sure. The rules amendment is that on page 2, line 9, and page 3, line 18, after vehicles, it'll be inserted which employ an open flame, propane, combustible fuel, or other heating element to prepare food.
All right, thank you for that. I'm going to have us vote on this, take it back to the bill sponsor, and then I'll run through the queue. So all in favor of the rules amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. The rules amendment carries on a vote of 6-1. And before we move anything else, bill sponsor, Mr. Carlucci.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I mean, before we get into the bill, I'll just, again, do what I said I'm going to do in the first place. Ms. Stefopoulos has another amendment that we need to do some cleanup language that was referred to. So if, through the chair, Ms. Stefopoulos can read us that would be great.
Thank you. Through the chair to the committee, so the additional amendment that Councilmember Carlucci would like to offer accomplishes several things. It adds the same language that's being added through the bill in the industrial and commercial categories to the neighborhood commercial and the PUD categories, because there are instances where a mixed-use PUD may have a gas station within the PUD, so it would also be a prohibition within PUDs. And neighborhood commercial currently allows mobile food vendors on these properties as part of by exception. So to include the prohibition for consistency throughout all categories where mobile food vendors could be located on gas station properties or similar properties, it would be appropriate to include this language in both of those additional categories. The intent would be that the council member Boylan language that was adopted through the rules amendment would also apply within those two additions to the neighborhood commercial and the PUD categories. Also, it would provide that the bill enforcement of the legislation would not begin until 90 days from the effective date of the legislation to allow an opportunity for education to the public of the new provision before it becomes enforceable. And it also would add that reference in Chapter 250 relating back to the zoning code that Ms. Abney related during her staff report. It would go ahead and incorporate a reference in Chapter 250 so that people who are looking in that chapter are aware that there are locational prohibitions located in the zoning code, so they would be aware of those and could review those consistent with Chapter 250.
Move the amendment as just stated.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? All right, for discussion on the amendment, I have the full queue lit up. Does anyone want to speak to the amendment? I'll keep this order. Just raise your hand or look at me if you want to speak on the amendment. No? Okay, all in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Yes, we can roll those up. And now the discussion. Councilmember Amaro. I have a motion and a second on the bill as amended. Councilman Amaro.
Chair, at first blush, I had some heartburns about this legislation because of the impact it may have on these small business owners who are looking for high visible locations to be able to attract business. But the big picture is about safety. And you pull up the gas station, you're pumping gas. First sign that says no cigarette smoking, nothing of that nature, because of the potential for a flashpoint. The language here says open flame, which clearly defines that we're talking about vendors who are actually using open flame. So I support it because of the overriding safety factor. My question through the chair to the bill sponsor, is there a safe distance that can be included in the legislation that would allow some of these vendors to continue to operate in this high-profile location? Is 200 feet from the pump safe? Is 300 feet from the pump safe? I think that if that is possible, and the fire chief is not here, so I don't know, I think that would be a good landing place to save these small businesses and yet maintain a totally safe environment.
All right, so that was a question through the chair to Councilmember Carlucci.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I spoke to the fire chief this morning, and he said he had something else to do tonight. He said, "Look, I'll be there if you really need me to be there." And I said, "It's been through pretty much every committee. Go do what you need to do, sir." But he did tell me this question came up in rules, and the distance question came up, and they have engineering study reports. The distance is 300 feet. That's the distance. So ultimately, if you do 300 feet, that's almost creating a bigger problem. I don't say problem, but that would be even further outside of the gas station radius. So I guess we could certainly do that. I asked OGC if we could do a distance, and they said yes. But for the starting point, I figured it would probably be best just to start with, basic at the gas station itself.
Through the chair to Mr. Carlucci, I'd like to offer floor amendment at 300 feet. Because some properties can accommodate that, others may not be able to. But again, because of the overriding safety issue, I'm willing to support it either way.
There's a motion. No second. We have a second now? All right. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Raise your hand if you want to speak on this amendment. Councilman Johnson.
Unfortunately, Mr. Chair, the information that seems to be shared contradicts with the information I've spoken with that I understand from not just the fire department, but the fire union, but I literally am text messaging right now, and that 300 feet number it's not congruent with reality. What I understand is that the number is 75 feet. That's the number. And so I cannot agree to that because I've been on the phone most of the day because of this specific issue with physicists, with scientists, with firefighters, and spaces across this country. And so the 300 feet number is just not rooted in reality. Thank you.
All right, anyone else on the amendment? Councilman Diamond?
I'll be quick. I wasn't going to talk on this. I was just going to be kind of like a polite, quiet no, just because I don't like, I just don't like regs like this, but I get what you're doing, so I have no beef with it. I just don't like the law. But if there was a way to make, no, I'm just going to vote no. I just don't like this particular reg that we're trying to pass. But and I think there's probably the votes to pass it, so I don't want to belabor this. But if there's a way to make it more palatable by getting to that distance to something that's, if it's 300 feet, I'll support that happily. If it could be less than that, as little as it can be and still be safe, I think that would be the best version of a law that I'm personally not going to vote for, but that's my 2 cents.
All right. I have a few questions. I don't know who it's for. So if we pass this amendment, 300 feet, if now so the furniture store next door to the gas station agrees to let the food truck there, it's only 150 feet away. If you put this amendment on, does that now block that food truck's ability from being in the lot next door, which it previously was legal to be at without this amendment? Because 300 feet is a football field. Outside of a Buc-ee's, I don't know too many gas stations that have 300 feet of space to add a food truck. So I don't think the bill really, or the amendment really does anything. And it could hamper the neighbors from being able, and then now you have like a whole shopping center that can't have a food truck because it can't be 300 feet from a gas station. So hesitant on the amendment due to that. And I'm looking all down to this line of experts and legal people that maybe could answer my concerns about if we adopt this amendment of 300 feet. Is that just adhere to the property itself or neighboring properties?
So I will say right now, under 656.313, and this language will be carried over to the other sections as noted by Ms. Stefopoulos, is that your mobile food vehicles are prohibited from preparing, distributing, or selling food or beverages on any property that dispenses gasoline or other flammable petroleum products for commercial sale. So it's on this property, as I understand the amendment, but if there is a difference of opinion from the bill sponsor or second, I'm happy to hear it. We're just trying to collect as best we can the intent of the framer of a motion.
So if we get a Buc-ee's on Southside Boulevard, it may apply to that. But other than that, probably not going to happen. But okay. Anyone want to comment on that? Still on the amendment, the 300-foot amendment, Councilmember Johnson.
Point of information, and this may be, Mr. Chair, through, I'm not sure here, I'd like to offer an amendment to the amendment. Am I in the right posture to do that? I just want to make sure. I think I am. Can I amend the amendment?
Through the chair to Councilmember Johnson, yes, you can amend the amendment.
That's what I thought. Okay.
But we would
I'd like to move that it be based on, and this is again, I want to make sure that I do have permission to quote Kelly Dobson from the Firefighters Union here in Jacksonville. The number is not 300, it is 75. So the amendment would be 75 feet from any structure. That way it wouldn't just be specifically the station itself, because one of the things, and I gotta say, I'm gonna speak to the bill, but one of the issues I have is if we have the prohibition at the filling station, the issue then becomes we're using the specific land place, but we're not looking at the root of the problem, which is a food truck that may be faulty. And I'm going to speak to that once we speak to the bill. But in this space, from my understanding, as long as there are many fail-safes in place, and again, I've been down the rabbit hole on this thing for hours today. There's so many fail-safes in place at these gas stations, and so there are many other concerns. I was on the phone earlier with the National Fire Prevention Association. There are very varied causes for gas station explosions, but in this specific space, my amendment would be 75 feet from any structure. That way it would take in parks and other places that may be around food trucks.
Through the chair, could I ask for clarification from Dr. Johnson? So the language in the bill, as Mr. Reingold indicated, is with respect to properties that dispense gasoline or other petroleum products for commercial sale. And so the safety consideration is with respect to the large tanks of petroleum or gasoline or other similar products that are housed within those properties. So you're suggesting that you want to amend the amendment to prohibit food truck vendors from locating within 75 feet of a structure, being the gas station itself, not the tanks underground where all the flammable products are housed. I just want to understand what the 75 feet is from.
Through the chair to Mr. Fopoulos, there's no there. And according to the information that I was given, and I'm certainly willing to share this research as well as the conversations with those people that I've spoken with today, there are like 7 different fail-safes for the gasoline tankers underground. So in essence, we've created a solution for a problem that doesn't exist, and scientists for years have looked at these problems and come up with ways as to how to deal with them. So to answer your question, yes, my amendment would be, because I want to look at the root of the problem, which are food trucks. So any structure, whether it be the filling station, whether it be the park, but any structure, they would have to operate 75 feet away from any structure. Based on the information that I've been given by fire professionals across the country, that is, it helps to go along with the spirit of the legislation, but also the intelligence of what is trying to be done in a way that makes sense to help everyone.
So in essence, the amendment would be that mobile food vehicles would be prohibited from preparing, distributing, or selling food or beverages, including the boiling language, or in any other way operating a food service business within 75 feet from any structure on any property that dispenses gasoline or other flammable petroleum products for commercial sale.
Through the chair to Ms. Stefopoulos, any structure, period. Not just, we can do that part. I have no problem with the petroleum, the petroleum sale. That's fine. But according to what I've been told, it should be 75 feet from any structure, period.
So a residential structure.
Any commercial structure.
What about?
And I'm assuming residential as well, because although that was brought up, that according to what I was told and the research that I've done, again, it's 75 feet from any structure.
Okay. So that would implicate, and this is being taken up as an amendment to the Amaro amendment, which I was going to seek clarification on the Amaro amendment as to what the 300-foot distance was from. So what's being proposed, I'm going to then recommend that the prohibition language would need to be included in all categories within the zoning code, because if we're talking about every type of structure within the city of Jacksonville, that they would have to be located 75 feet from those structures, that implicates more than commercial, industrial, and neighborhood commercial and PUD. So that amendment to the amendment implies, or I would be suggesting to the committee, then we are adding this language to every zoning category. But Mr. Reingold may have further information he wants to provide.
Waiting on Mr. Reingold, and I'll try to put us in the posture we need to be in.
I'm just going to state that a structure is defined in our zoning code, and that means that which is built or constructed an edifice of any kind or a piece of work artificially built up or composed of parts joined together in some definitive or definite manner. The term structure shall be construed as if followed by the words or part thereof, and shall include tents, awnings, cabanas, and buildings. There's a broad definition of what structures are. I'll certainly defer to the planning department if they want to jump in there, but I just want that to be very clear when we talk about this needing to be 75 feet from any structure.
And by that definition, Mr. Reingold, we couldn't have food trucks at James Weldon Johnson Park or in front of an apartment complex. Or
there's just all those things, and I defer to the planning department because they're the ones who interpret and enforce the zoning code, but there are a lot of things out there that are structures.
All right, so we're still on the amendment as amended, so we're really on the Johnson amendment. Did he? Okay.
On the Johnson amendment?
Okay, well, we were discussing the amendment, so if it wasn't seconded, I would appreciate a heads up next time before we go down that rabbit hole. But Mr. Gaffney seconded the amendment, so would you like to speak about it, Mr. Gaffney? You're up in the queue.
Actually, thank you, Chairman. Actually, can I offer an amendment as well right now? Well, yeah. Well, I think Yeah, amendment to the amendment to the amendment. I think what I would like to do is offer an amendment to remove District 8. No, and you guys laughing, but I'm serious about this. I haven't seen data, I guess statistics that back up this legislation. I attended Rules Committee yesterday, and Chief Powell didn't have the data. This bill is concerning to me. We would remove the rights from small businesses. I spoke with a convenience store and I guess a gas station owner over the weekend, and they shared with me if we remove the food truck, the foot traffic won't come in the store no more. The business could potentially close down. The other concerning issue I have, and I know I'm getting towards the bill now, I spoke with a food truck owner, and they shared with me that they've been at this location 7 years. And they shared with me if they had to uproot, they could potentially lose some of their customers. And they thought it was, I guess, a displeasure to have to uproot after 7 years. So, but what I would like to do, because I don't have no data and I don't have no statistics right now, I would like to offer a motion to remove District 8 from this legislation.
So my recommendation would be, Councilmember Gaffney, kind of like the last bill that we did. Let's kind of dispose of the amendment, and then we'll come back to yours, and then we'll handle removing District 8. I just want to keep the motions kind of on sort of similar topic.
Yeah. In that vein is the Johnson amendment, which was initially moved as an amendment to the Amaro amendment, which I think is clearly substantively different than that. Are we still in the right posture as referring to the Johnson amendment as an amendment to the Amaro amendment, or are we just here now? We have to unwind it.
Obviously, my preference would have been you move amendment second, all in favor say aye, then you move to the next. I mean, we can go down the rabbit hole of getting through the Johnson amendment to it, but I would just recommend that from here on out, we have separate amendments, and then we merge them all together as an LUZ amendment at the end.
Okay, so right now we're on the Johnson amendment. Is there anyone would like to add any more context to that? Councilman Carlucci. On the Johnson amendment.
All right, so this is the Johnson amendment. Okay, fully do not support the Johnson amendment. I don't know where you're getting your information from. That's great.
Speak through the chair,
that's
Mr.
great.
Carlucci.
Yeah.
And Mr. Johnson.
So through the chair to the committee, we have someone who isn't a union labor leader that is in charge of public safety on the fire side, and that is Keith Powers. And he has said the blast radius of a food truck is 300 feet. And if you want to take issue with that through the chair, that's totally your prerogative. But I would just say I will not support the Johnson amendment. I would be fine supporting the Kinamaro amendment. I think the bill is it's just as simple as it can be. I think we're way over complicating it, but since we're on the Johnson amendment, I will not support that. I urge my colleagues not to support that. 75 feet is not the number. Thank you.
Anyone else on the Johnson amendment? Dr. Johnson. Dr. Johnson, you're recognized. Dr. Johnson on the bill. Are you on the Johnson amendment, Mr. Arias?
Yes, Chair. I mean, so much conversation. I just want to confirm one thing. The Johnson amendment, are we talking about still gas stations, or are we now also talking about public buildings? Because James Weldon Park, you kind of lost me, and there's no gas station around here, so I'm kind of confused on that part.
Are you asking me or Mr. Rangel? My interpretation was the amendment applied to all structures. The definition of structures was read. No one changed the verbiage anyway, so if you vote on the Johnson amendment, you're prohibiting those food trucks within 75 feet of any structure as defined by the zoning code.
So through the chair and to the chair, the Johnson amendment then, in this case, would apply to all structures, not just gas stations, meaning food trucks will become obsolete. I just want to make sure that that's what we're voting on now. And if that's the case, Mr. Johnson, I'm sorry, I can't support that because we can't put food trucks out of business. That's just what it is. Thank you.
I believe you're now on your amendment. Dr. Johnson, go ahead.
That this is just, I mean, and with all due respect, Mr. Chair, with all due respect to my colleague, Councilman Arias, that's not what we're talking about, putting food trucks out of business. The bill itself, actually, we're not. The bill itself actually
That's
puts
the second
food trucks.
time the crosstalk we have to
Well,
stop.
because unfortunately, my colleagues aren't listening. I said it in the beginning that as if had we been paying attention, we would have understood that people would have said specifically that this came from the team from the fire department. That's where I got the information, along with other people I've spoken with. So I don't want to make it seem as though the information that they've provided is not good intel and information. I rely on it, and that's why I shared it. But what I wanted to say to this is it is not about the bill itself in its entirety is about limiting not just property owners' rights, but putting food trucks out of business, Mr. Chair. But the reason that I wanted to make sure that we understand this is, according to my understanding, that if there is 75 feet, according to the fire team that I've spoken with, I'm certainly willing to say that it's okay 75 feet from a filling station, but what they told me specifically was that if it was 75 feet from a structure, it would prevent any issues. And that's, again, what we are now looking at, these specific physical locations. But at the end of the day, we should be looking at food trucks as a whole, which, again, I'm going to speak to when we talk to the bill itself. Thank you. I would hope that, we could support, and like I said, if it pleases the chair, I would certainly be open to say within 75 feet of any filling station. I'm okay with that. And I would be okay with an amendment for that. I'm just going by what was shared with me from the fire team, and I trust those professionals in public safety. Thanks.
All right. I'm ready to vote on the Johnson Amendment unless someone has a burning desire to speak on it. All in favor of the Johnson Amendment, please raise your hand. Oh, in opposition, raise your hand. All right, Johnson Amendment fails. We are on the Amaro Amendment. The Amaro Amendment is the 300-foot amendment. Does anyone want to speak to the Amaro Amendment?
I do.
Mr. Amaro.
The problem with Mr. Johnson's was the word structure.
Correct.
And I don't know if 300 feet is appropriate. I am trying to find a safe distance from the pumps. We're talking about open flame. I'm not concerned about the tanks that are underground because I don't think the risk is that great with the tanks that are buried, but there is a risk with the filling pumps that are above ground where the gas is dispensed. I want us to find a happy place where we can provide a safe environment and still allow these small business owners to operate. They choose gas stations because of the visibility, the traffic. But just common sense tells me there's a legitimate safety concern here. So I'm at 300 feet. If someone wants to amend it to be shorter, but the language, and this is where words matter, the language has to be filling stations, pumps, not structures, because as we heard from the definition a second ago, structure will include even city halls. So.
All right, I'll take the pleasure of the chair just to speak. None of us in this room are qualified to determine what the safe amount of feet is away. So I'm not going to support any of this 75, 300, 200 because I'm not qualified to do it, and neither one is anyone up here. So we don't have the chief here. So that's my opinion. I'm going to vote no on everything until we get to the bill that we can talk. Mr. Carlucci, you wanted to speak? Are you?
Yeah, I mean, I won't support 300 feet. I think that it could create more problems. I would love to just keep the bill as it is. To be honest, again, I think it is a common sense bill, and I think we start at they can't be on the gas station. Period. I think that's the easiest, cleanest way to do it. So, thank you.
All right, we have someone for the mayor's administration here that would like to speak. Mr. Delaney, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you to the chair and the body. I have just spoken with Chief Powers. I think I can clarify the numbers a little bit. The 300 feet is taken from the emergency response guide, so that's the number of kind of the maximum safe distance, not saying that it couldn't be shorter, but that at least should be, a good maximum. I would also caution against any language that might affect an adjacent property, because there could be an adjacent property that's like within that number that may be fine for a food truck, and you'd be kind of skirting onto their rights just because they happen to be next door to a gas station or whatever. But if you're looking for, a way to say, all right, after a certain point, it ought to be allowed even on a gas station, I think 300 feet would do it for this time.
All right, thank you for that. And that is the motion. Mr. Arias, are you on the Amaro bill? Or you're on, excuse me, the Amaro amendment? No, you're on the bill. All right, so all in favor of the Amaro amendment signify by saying or raising your hand. Those who oppose? The amendment passes 4-3. All right, got a motion on the bill as amended. Councilman Arias. Oh, Gaffney? Get in the queue, sir.
Thank you, Chair. Do you want to speak first?
He wants to put another amendment.
Right ahead. Yes, sir.
Yep. All right, Councilmember Gaffney, you recognized.
Yeah, so thank you through the chair. So as I stated, while I understand it's a safety concern, I really appreciate Councilman Carlucci diligence in creating this bill. Like I shared before, I don't have data to support this issue. I would like to prohibit District 8 from bidding this bill. This is not a District 8 issue. As Mr. Matchett stated, we have a lot of food trucks that but come to gas stations daily. And I spoke with a few gas stations and food truck owners over the weekend, and this would be very detrimental if we pass this legislation. So while I understand this is a safety issue right here, I really ask you guys to support me and remove District 8 from this legislation. It's no harm to you guys. This just is my district. That's all I'm speaking to. My district, my constituents, the businesses in my district. They have reached out to me, and they was opposed to this legislation. So I'm willing to support this legislation just without District 8, and that's all I'm saying.
All right, there's a motion and a second on Mr. Gaffney's amendment. Now, I would like to, as your chairman, have a legal conversation with OGC. If we carve districts out and the bill passes, doesn't that lead us to some kind of open lawsuit? We're saying that this particular district doesn't support the will of the council for the safety of the city. It just gets really bogged down legally. And Mary, maybe you could speak to that.
To the chair. So thank you. My concern is if we start to carve out districts, the basis of this legislation, the intent behind this legislation was to address a safety consideration of having people who are cooking on open flames or utilizing gasoline products within a proximity of large commercial establishments that sell or dispense gasoline or petroleum products. So by carving out districts, to an extent, there's a concern that could be raised, an argument that could be raised that we've undermined the safety aspect, which was the substantial government interest involved in passing this legislation to restrict the location of food trucks. And so that does potentially create additional risk for challenge to the city, because the substantial government interest of safety could be at question when you start to allow things in certain districts and not others, when the safety consideration is the same regardless of which district you're in. So I just put that out there for your consideration. The other issue, and Mr. Reingold can also speak to this, is we would have to kind of identify how we would even address the prohibition, but then also I'm concerned about the interplay in other sections of the code, where how would we make sure that everyone's aware you can enforce here in one district but not in another. And so Mr. Reingold may have thoughts about that.
Mr. Reingold?
And I applaud Councilmember Gaffney, what he's trying to do. I guess the concern I will just express to the committee is you have overlays that get set up that have special requirements within certain areas, but to have a zoning code kind of sporadically applied throughout the city of Jacksonville just seems very problematic to me. You basically are saying, oh, these are the uses allowed in this area except in RLD 60, except for District 9, which allows for, doesn't allow for this, or this allows for all these uses in CN, except for District 7, which those aren't or are allowed. I just think that's really problematic from an enforcement standpoint and just a regulatory standpoint.
All right, since I started the conversation with you, Mr. Reingold, is that just your opinion? Now, I happen to agree with your opinion. I'm going to vote no on the amendment, but if this body wishes to do that, can they still do it?
Subject to challenge, it would be the law of the land. I don't know how. My preference would be, if that's the direction we're going, I would think we might want to flip the bill around into a pilot program or an overlay area where these regulations are started with before they get expanded to just
District 5 seems like a great option for that. I'm going to let everyone else speak. So on the Gaffney amendment, yes? All right, we're just going to go around because the whole queue is full. On the Gaffney amendment.
I'll be super fast. I'm going to support my colleague, and I'd like to add District 13.
All right, Mr. Carlucci. He's on the bill. Mr. Arias.
Thank you, Chair. This defeats the essence and the spirit of the bill. I will not support Gaffney's amendment. I think if we're really doing this out of concern for safety, then do we just not care about the people of District 8 and their safety? I just can't support that. Or in District 13 as well. This is my only reservation with that. And naturally, I'll probably say, well, I guess I'll do it too. But honestly, I'm weighing out the principles, and the principle here is to protect people from potential hazardous incidents happening. And in this case, the way I see it, Mr. Gaffney, through the chair, is if you don't like it, just vote it down, and let's see how the votes go. Simple as that. Thank you.
All right, headed down the line on the Gaffney amendment. Dr. Johnson, would you like to speak on the Gaffney amendment?
I thought, Mr. Chair, I certainly thought, because it's April Fool's Day, that Councilperson Diamond was making an April Fool's joke, but I guess it's for real. I tend to agree with Vice Chair Arias on what he just said. I just think it's important that we kind of show a unified effort. So I'm on the bill, though. Thanks.
Councilman Amaro on the Gaffney amendment. All right, all in favor of the Gaffney amendment signify by raising your hand. Those who oppose, Gaffney amendment fails. Now, I think we're back on the bill. Okay. We did move the bill as amended, and then we went to Gaffney. If we need to do it again, we can do it again. We did it. So now we're on discussion of the bill, which we will start with the bill sponsor and go through the queue as you're in here. Yes, please. My attorney would like to speak with me.
Just to get you in the proper posture, so you had previously moved the bill, but then you took up and approved the Amaro amendment. So I would ask if we could roll the Amaro amendment up into what had already been approved as amendments by the LUZ Committee, in which case then if that is approved, then I would ask that you move the bill as amended one more time to get it properly before the body.
Mr. Harris, is that your motion?
That is my motion, indeed, sir.
Yes. So I have a motion and a second, as explained by OGC, which means we're on the bill officially for discussion and then vote. Is that right? Bill sponsor, Mr. Carlucci, you're recognized.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Look, I'm going to keep it really short and sweet. I think we've had a great conversation here tonight. Look, this is nothing to do with anything except public safety, and this issue came to me. I didn't seek this issue out. This came from constituent phone calls, and I explored it like I know all of my colleagues would explore it. My first call was to the fire chief, and as we went down this road, we discovered that, surprise, it's not a good idea to have a highly combustible, food trailer at a highly flammable gas station. So that's pretty much where I'm at on it. And again, it's more about relocating food trucks or food trailers to safer locations than it is anything else. So that's all I'm going to say on the bill. Thank you.
Councilman Gaffney Jr.
Yes, thank you through the chair. And I'm going to go back to my point. I understand it's a safety concern, but I haven't seen the data to support that. That's why I said remove District 8. Nobody have came to Gaffney Jr. and said, Councilman Jr., over the last 10 or 15 years, this is how many incidents we had. I think this bill have unintended consequences. I mean, I think we could create a whole bunch of bills that have safety concerns. I mean, people carry firearms in the park. I could go create legislation tomorrow to say we shouldn't have firearms in the park. I mean, but you're right, we shouldn't, but it's open law, but we could create a lot of legislation that have safety concerns. I just think right now we overreaching. And like I said, my biggest concern is small businesses. If we pass this legislation, the constituent that I spoke with, she gonna have to uproot her food truck from 7 years. I take offense to that. I mean, she built her business, been there 7 years, going there every day. She built her clientele, and now she gonna get something in the mail telling her that she gonna have to relocate after being there 7 years. I'm not sure if this city is pro-business. We're taking away the rights of gas stations, telling them what could come on their property. It just doesn't sit well with me. I mean, I understand it's a safety issue. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but this doesn't apply to District 8. It doesn't apply to District 8. And I'm going to be a no tonight, and the reason I'm going to be the no, because I don't have the support and the data that tells me this is a safety concern. Yes, it is a potential safety concern, but I don't have no data, no facts that say we have this many incidents in the last 5 to 10 years. That's the reason I'm voting no. If I could get that support that, I will vote yes on Tuesday, but right now, Councilman Carlucci said he'll make sure we have that data come Tuesday. But right now, since I don't have that information, I will not support this tonight.
All right, Councilman Arias.
Thank you, Chair. So I just want to be clear about something to you guys here to understand what a food truck is. A food truck is a mobile truck that sells food. And the legislation is about propane and open flames. That does not mean that food trucks cannot be at a gas station. You have food trucks that have induction cooking, which have no open flames. You have ice cream trucks. You have boba tea trucks. You have catering trucks that all they do is they cook at a ghost kitchen. They put in their food trucks, and they have warmers in their food trucks with no open flame, just electricity, and they can still sell. So we're not limiting food trucks from selling at gas stations. We're just limiting a specific type of food truck to sell at a gas station. So if this makes you more at ease, the food truck that you're talking about, they could easily just convert to an induction or a catering type or cook somewhere else and bring it there. Because we don't want to prohibit people from doing business in Jacksonville. We just want to keep people safe. And that's why I'm supporting this piece of legislation, because to me, ultimately, you know me, I'm a business owner. I'm also in the industry for food. But it's all about safety, and in this case, we're still opening doors to other people. And secondly, my only concern, and this goes through the chair to Dylan Reingold, is how are we going to even enforce and legislate this? Like, I mean, we don't have enough people to even give out permits in the city of Jacksonville. So is it going to be because somebody's calling and say, hey, there's a food truck here, and then we're going to go check it out? Or are we actually going to do something about it? Because Mr. Gaffney just mentioned the lady that he spoke about is going to get a letter in the mail. I mean, is she even going to get a letter in the mail? Like, how are people going to know that this is action now and we're going to enforce it? Thank you.
Was that a question, Mr. Reingold? Mr. Reingold?
Through the chair to Councilmember Arias. So with regards to code enforcement, the code enforcement staff is generally complaint-driven. And now under state law, those complaints are going to have to come in with names, addresses of the complainants, and then code enforcement staff will respond accordingly.
All right, Dr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will be as brief as possible, but this is, and I'm going to try to be brief, but this is just not a good piece of legislation in its current form. We're being asked to consider an ordinance that, while well-intentioned, it misses the mark on data and design. The stated rationale is safety, and it's a concern that we all share, but we have to ask ourselves, is this a problem that actually exists, or are we creating new problems under the guise of prevention? You know, Councilman Gaffney just said the reason that he's not voting for this is because he needs more data. And honestly, I've been doing research, and here's the thing. The data just doesn't exist. I said it yesterday in the Rules Committee, and I've done more research today. Per the National Fire Prevention Association and physicists and scientists, unfortunately, the underlying facts that tend to say this is a good piece of legislation are inherently flawed. And let's talk facts. One of the questions that Councilman Arias just asked was about enforcement. I had a noticed meeting about this with Councilman Carlucci, where we brought in the Consumer Affairs team as well as the fire team. There's just not enough body count for this to be enforced. You can't enforce this, and unfortunately, we're not listening. We're searching again for a solution to a problem that doesn't exist. I've heard the words common sense come up with several of my colleagues before, and maybe to you it makes common sense, but it certainly doesn't make good sense. This ordinance doesn't reflect data-driven responses to a widespread danger. It overreaches. It disproportionately punishes small business owners, many of whom are just using this food truck to gain a foothold into the opportunity of a dream. They meet customers where they are, especially with those of us, like Councilman Gaffney and myself, and many of us here, who have communities that are in food deserts, where people depend on these food trucks so they can get affordable food for their family. Now, I don't believe in just saying no. I wanted to find a better way forward, which is why I went to do the research, spent hours on the phones and doing the work. And that's where I came up with the 75 feet rule. But let's be clear, entrepreneurship shouldn't be suffocated by legislation, and that's what we're doing. I sit with Chairman Arias on the JSEB committee, where we work hard to help small businesses. If nothing else, this is not the way to help small businesses. We have literally, pardon the inference to this, the city has much bigger fires to put out. That's literal and figurative. So we shouldn't distract ourselves by extinguishing innovation and mobility and self-sufficiency in the name of trying to fix something that isn't broken. We need to find ways to take care of our community, but this is not one of them. And we must be pro-safety, but also pro-small business with thoughtful, smart legislation. So colleagues, I'll be voting no on this. I hope that you will vote no. I hope we can do the work to defeat this harmful legislation and make sure that we are protecting people and businesses and opportunity in our community and not just trying to placate what seems to be a problem that honestly doesn't exist. Please vote no on this legislation. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Amaro.
Thank you for the exchange thus far. A couple of things I heard. We don't have a problem. We're a culture where we're reactive, and this is an opportunity to be proactive. My only concern right now, as raised by Councilman Arias, is the type of vendors. As I read the legislation, it says mobile food vehicles are prohibited from preparing, distributing, or selling food or beverages. Now, the spirit of this is those who are using open flame, but it doesn't say that in the language. And as Councilman Arias pointed out, being in the restaurant business, some vendors don't prepare food, or they use an injection or convection electric method of preparing their foods, and this may be injurious to those as the language is now structured. Unless the food inspector is going to come up and say, do you have an open flame, or what are you doing? That's where it can cause injury. But the legislation is being proactive. We don't need to wait until there's an explosion at a gas station, 20 people are dead, and we're saying, oh my God, what happened? Why didn't we? How could this be allowed? So it's being proactive. My concern is, does this language captures everyone, or is it just targeting those who are using open flame? And so that needs to be clarified for me. Thank you.
Was that question directed toward the bill sponsor or OGC? Yeah, I would love for someone to answer that too. Bill sponsor?
Ms. Fabulous, can you bring me that paper? Sorry, I know you're... Oh, okay, great. Yeah, no, I mean, look, if the heartburn is, all other heating elements to prepare food, I mean, that's not the concern here. Those are such a small aspect here. I don't know where Councilmember Boylan, he kind of came up with this on the dais. So if we want to remove that, look, the bill is for open flame, propane tank, highly combustible elements. So that's where I'm at. But that's my response. So okay, if we want to make that amendment here, we can. If we want to make it on Tuesday, we can. Whatever. I'll go back to the chair.
I think we should make it here and save us the trouble next week. We have a motion and a second on removing other heating element from the rules amendment. All in favor, say aye. Aye. There was. Joe moved it, and Councilmember Carlucci moved it, and Councilmember Diamond seconded it. We good with that? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. That amendment passes 6-1. The chair is requesting that amendment be rolled into the other amendments. Now we have a motion and a second from Mr. Arias on the bill as rolling. I guess we're going to vote? No? We got people in the queue. All right. Councilmember Carlucci. Councilman Arias. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, and hopefully I don't say anything that prompts additional whatever. But to Councilmember Morrow's point, it's about risk management in my opinion. That's what I look at things on a day in and day out basis from an insurance standpoint. So I don't wait to see an event happen. If we were to wait to see an event happen, that would mean a really bad day in Jacksonville, a really bad day for a family, and that's not a day that I want to wait for. So that's just a comment I wanted to make, Mr. Chair. Thank you. I'm ready to vote.
All right, Councilman Arias. All right, no one who wishes to speak is in the queue, so let's open up the ballot and record your vote.
Four yeas, 3 nays.
By your action, you have passed 2025-0159. Councilman Arias, for some commentary.
All right, thank you, Chair. So clearly, the essence and the spirit of this bill is just for public safety. I have had a concern with food trucks for the longest time since I've been in business. I'm going on 18 years in business, and I've had food trucks just pop into my shopping center in the parking lot, just park their truck there, and then just sell. 1 second. What's going on?
I think Councilman Johnson was requesting the results of the vote.
Okay, as I was saying, so, this conversation today kind of just is a catalyst for further conversations because while, Mr. Gaffney, you mentioned, your example of the lady over there, ultimately, I've had issues with food trucks in my shopping center, just parking their trucks, selling food right in front of my business. And so I would like to have further conversations at some point to see how we could actually regulate where food trucks go in more detail, not just gas stations, because while we're saying here is protecting the food trucks, well, what about protecting the other brick and mortar restaurants that are actually paying rent? The beauty about what that lady did is that she has a mobile truck and she could go anywhere. I can't go anywhere. I am stuck here. So I need protection too. And to have a food truck, not even 300 feet, but 12 feet away from my restaurant, and they're not paying rent, and they could just pop their truck wherever they want in Jacksonville, that to me is a concern and an issue that we need to address here as a city council, as a body, because for the longest, the food trucks have been the wild, wild west, and they could just go wherever, whenever. And while, yes, they have to get a permit, quote unquote, no, they don't. Right now, there could be a food truck right here in our parking lot. Guarantee you they don't have a permit. So we need to start regulating how these food trucks do business. I am a supporter of a small business. I am supportive of food trucks, of all businesses. but not at the expense of other businesses, and as long as they're complying with the same regulations that other businesses are also complying with. So we'll have further conversation on food trucks later on. Thank you.
All right, the LUZ chair is always fair. Councilman Johnson, would you like to speak as well?
I have a question and then a comment, and then Vice Chair Arias brings up some amazing, true issues that we have here. This is a legal question, so it's either Mr. Reingold or Ms. Stefopoulos. I'm not sure which one. State law. Tell me what state, because one of the things that Councilman Carlucci brought up in the meeting on yesterday was that the only redress that we would have for this would be the zoning code because of state law. Help me understand, based on, especially on Councilman Arias' comments, what can we do? What can be done? Is it only zoning that we could tell where people go?
Through the chair to Councilmember Johnson. So yes, if you want to address how or where uses can be located, you do that through the zoning code. The state law prohibits us from precluding or prohibiting mobile food trucks anywhere. So we have to allow them in some places, but we're not prohibited from limiting their location.
Through the chair to Ms. Stefopoulos, what about licensing them? Because from my understanding now, the licensing is no longer on the local level. They go through DBPR on the state level, and that's it.
They have a couple of different licenses they have to maintain. They also have to be inspected by the fire department and receive a tag from them that they've passed certain inspections. But yeah, the state handles their some of the licensing with some additional inspections and certifications that can occur at the local level.
Which means the J-bill may be something that we have to come up with.
Well, with respect to adjusting how licensing is handled for mobile food trucks, I don't know that it would be a J-bill because you'd be talking about amending a statewide rule.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
So J-bills only have a local application.
Thank you. Thanks for the clarification, and I look forward to hearing more about this from Councilman Arias because he is so much more familiar with this than all of us are. Let me say this quickly. I said it in rules. I want to say, first of all, thank you to Councilman Carlucci for bringing this to our attention because, as Councilman Amaro said, we don't want to wait till the last minute till something happens, but I also don't want to create solutions to problems that don't exist. But what has been uncovered to me is a problem that really does exist, and we don't have enough people working in this city. In our meeting, in the notice meeting I had with Councilman Carlucci, I found out in Consumer Affairs, which I honestly didn't know, that our FTE in that department is 1.5 people. How do you expect the Jimmy Carter, that one person, 1.5 people, to be able to roam around and do all the inspections that need to be done? It's not possible. Additionally, as Ms. Stefopoulos just said, and we heard on yesterday, the fire department's fire prevention group has to rely on people, the honor system, as Councilman Arias said, people bringing their trucks in. But what about those food trailers that aren't supposed to be there in the first place? Many of them I know are set up in my district, Councilman Carrico, I know in your district, and other districts around the city. We want to support small business, but as Councilman Arias said, it must be done in the proper way. So our focus needs to be, and that's going to be one of my renewed interests, is making sure that the FTE in both fire prevention and consumer affairs matches a city of our size so that we can do the work to protect the people, not just at gas stations, but to protect everybody in the city of Jacksonville, not just from explosions, but from bad food as well. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Reingold, you're in the queue. Did you have something?
I was going to actually read the state statute on the provision that we were talking about, just so it's clear. Regulation of mobile food dispensing vehicles and temporary commercial kitchens involving licenses, registrations, permits, and fees is preempted to the state.
All right. So, moving on, the following bills will be deferred for public hearing on April 15th. 2025-166, 167, 168, 169, 170, 171, 172, 173, 174, 175, 176, 177, and 178. Moving on to item 28, 2025-0179. Council members, please declare any ex parte you may have at this time. Seeing none, let's open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is sign waiver 2025-179. which seeks to reduce the setback for a monument sign from 20 feet to 10 feet and allow for internal illumination. The property is located near the intersection of McCormick Road and Fort Caroline Road and is currently utilized as the Highlands United Presbyterian Church. The church seeks to replace the existing 24 square foot sign with the 45 square foot monument sign in the same location and also allow for internal illumination. The RLD 90 zoning district allows assembly and institutional uses a non-illuminated or externally illuminated monument sign not exceeding 50 square feet. The existing 24 square foot sign was approved under sign waiver ordinance 2010-893, which sought to replace an existing non-conforming sign and allow for internal illumination. There were 3 conditions on the 2010 sign waiver, which limited the brightness of the message board and limited the lighting to amber lights. Given the existing development pattern and landscape buffering of the property to abutting residences, along with the previously approved sign waiver, staff finds the proposed sign to be consistent with the character of the area and forwards a recommendation of approval.
Thank you very much. We have some speaker cards. Tom Sweeney.
Hello, my name's Tom Sweeney. My address is on file. I'm currently the Building and Grounds Committee Chair for the Highlands Presbyterian Church. The sign waiver application is strictly as she said. Our existing sign was used at the time. It was about 15 years ago that basically we bought the sign. It has now become non-functional, and due to its age, we're unable to repair it. So we need to replace that sign with a new sign. The sign has been relatively designed. It mirrors the old sign. It has a lighted place at the top. It gives us the church name and a message board down below. It will be located on the same base and the same location as the existing sign. We use the sign, obviously, to basically tell the local community about our church services, about our Easter egg hunt, about any of the activities that the local community is invited to attend. We feel it's essential, as we are a relatively small church. We only have about 130 members, and our goal, obviously, is to help continue to try to get community involvement with the church. So that's why we've come in and asked for permission to replace the old sign.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you for coming down, sir. Our next speaker actually is in support, checks the box, does not wish to speak. Don Hall is here in support. That's our last speaker. Let's close this public hearing and bring it back to committee. I have a motion and a second on the bill. I have no one in the queue. Please open the ballot and record your vote.
Seven yeas, 0 nays.
By your action, you've approved 2025-0179. Moving on to item 29. 2025-0180. Council members, please declare any ex parte. Councilman Arias.
Chair, I'd like to declare ex parte. I spoke to the applicant, Mr. Yancey, on March 17th via phone call to discuss the establishment and the use of it. And it's being filed as we speak. Thank you.
All right. No other speakers in the queue. Let's open the public hearing and get a staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is zoning exception 2025-180, which seeks to permit the retail sale and service of all alcoholic beverages in conjunction with a restaurant and billiard hall. The subject property is a 168,000 square foot shopping center located at the southwest corner of Phillips Highway and Bay Meadows Road. Phillips Highway is a major commercial corridor. The proposed establishment will be Legends Billiards, which will operate in units 32 through 34. Other tenants of the shopping center include Bailey's Health and Fitness Gym, dry cleaners, and multiple restaurants. Previous zoning exceptions for all alcohol have been approved in the shopping center, with the most recent being E2245 for Cataluna Jacks back in 2022. Staff finds the proposed use compatible with other uses in the shopping center and surrounding area and forwards a recommendation of approval.
All right. Thank you for that glowing report. We are going to go to the speaker cards. Do we have any speaker cards? All right. Lawrence Yancey. No, you must have forgot to put junior. That is not Mr. Yancey. Are you a junior?
Yes, sir, I am.
All right, welcome. Name and address for the record.
My name is Lawrence Yancey. Address is on file. I would like to thank the council members for the time today. We are asking for support in filing for the exception for the zoning department because, you know, as stated, the Phillips Highway area is a major commercial hub, and with the alcohol, beer, and wine licensing, they have been issued to other restaurants in the area, so that should not be a problem. And then also opens up other job opportunities in the area for others, just because of the size of the building and the establishment that's trying to be created, as well as it does bring value just because it is a major hub. And with the major hub bringing something unique to the table that doesn't really exist in the area, because there are other areas such as arcades, they got go-karts in the area, in the Phillips Highway, Bay Meadows area. So bringing something unique such as billiards as an establishment will bring diversity for not only the youth, but also people of our age, So I do support this, and I thank you for your time.
All right, that's our last speaker card. We'll go to the queue before we close public hearing. Councilman Carlucci.
All right, yes, sir. And this is for Mr. Yancey, or through the chair.
Go ahead, Mr. Carlucci.
Okay, sorry, yeah, through the chair
Yes.
to Mr. It's Mr. Yancey?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
So how many seats, I'm sorry if you said this already, how many seats are at the restaurant?
How many? It was. I have to go back in the paperwork again.
Do you have, okay.
I don't have the exact paperwork of the.
Through the chair, do you need a minute to go get the paperwork, or do you not have that with you today?
I do not have it with me today.
Okay. So, okay, a few more questions then, if you don't mind. Do you know what the food percentage is for this establishment? Because I think there has to be a certain food percentage with the alcohol.
That is correct. The food percentage will be above the established percentage. There will be more food being sold than alcohol at the establishment, so it will be over 51% food being sold in the establishment.
Okay. And then last question through the chair to Mr. Yancey. I might have heard this, or I might not have heard. Did Bailey's approve of this? Did you get a letter of support from them or any of the other establishments nearby?
Yes, we did.
Okay, and do you have those with you?
I do
or?
not have those with me. I can get.
You
those
do, or
to
you don't?
I do not have those with me, but I can get those to you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. That's all I have right now. I wish there was a little bit more information, but
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Yancey.
Yes, sir.
Help me orient myself. Where are we on Phillips Highway? What is currently in the restaurant?
In the area.
Yeah, what is the building now?
It is an empty establishment, but it's in the shopping center, Cataluna's or.
With Cataluna?
Yes, that is on the left side.
Okay.
And then I wish I had the Google Maps view to be able to show it to you.
All right. Councilman Johnson, you're recognized. Oh, Councilman Arias. Sorry, let's go to the district councilman. This is your area.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, first of all, it's, Mr. Diamond, I have the mic. Right. Mr. Carlucci brought up a great concern. Bailey's Gym, they are a 24-hour gym, and when I spoke to the applicant, I asked him if it was going to affect the visitors of the gym, being that they go there at all times of the night, and this restaurant will be serving alcohol till potentially 2 in the morning. So I wanted to know if there was going to be any friction between Bailey's Gym and the applicant, the establishment, the billiards hall, and Bailey's is good with it. There's no concerns there. To kind of answer your question, Mr. Carlucci, Mr. Carrico, where is this going to be at? The shopping center itself, think of a horseshoe. Cataluna's on one side, Bailey's is on the other side. This will be on the side with the Bailey's. So it will not be conflicting with Cataluna or the other restaurants there, the Indian restaurant. It is in a great part of town to put it there. After all, the issue that I had here, and the reason why I'm supporting this very much is because, number one, we're granting an alcohol license of 4 COP. Is that correct, Mr. Nancy, through the chair?
Yes, that's
It is a 4 COP, meaning liquor, beer, and wine. But really, the reason why I will be supporting this today is because I am sick and tired, sir, sick and tired of all my constituents going to District 4 to play pool in your district. We need a billiards hall in my district, so I will be supporting this because I need some of those people to come to my district. Thank you,
If
sir.
your pool hall had a giant orange dinosaur out in front of it, maybe you could get a little more business. Councilman Johnson.
And I feel really disrespected because I do have mini golf in my district, but unfortunately we do not, Mr. Chair, have a giant orange dinosaur with a hand that pulls a thing up and down. And it's unfortunate we don't all have that. Nevertheless, I was doing some looking here, and Mr. Yancey, how's your dad, by the way, through the chair? How's Mr. Yancey? He's well?
He's doing well.
Please give him our best. And I'm looking here at this particular, and I appreciate you saying you support it, but looking at where it is in this center here, have you looked at how this interacts with the Salem Amendment? Did you take a look at the Salem Amendment to see how it would affect what would happen in this shopping center?
We have taken that into consideration, yes.
Oh, well, what are your thoughts on the Salem Amendment and how it could affect people in that area? Because obviously Phillips Highway and what Councilman Carrico's doing is significant, but how does that Salem Amendment work with what you're doing by putting that restaurant there in the liquor license?
Sir, to be completely transparent with you, I personally have not done the research on the particular amendment. My father, however, has, and he can be the giver of that information.
That information, I got
am
you.
standing in for him because of the reasons that you've asked,
And-
which I appreciate you.
And I want to make sure that I give you everything you need. And
Correct.
For the record, what is today's date? Today's April 1st? Sir, there is no Salem Amendment. April Fools. I just had to get, you did it. You did well.
I got you. I'm not going to sit up here and lie to you if I don't.
Kind of did.
I appreciate it.
You're almost off the hook, Councilman Diamond. You're still on cue, sir.
Oh my God, dogs and cats sleeping together. The guy is going to have some pool tables and serve alcohol. I think this is awesome. When do you open, sir, through the chair?
Well, we got to make sure all our licenses are right first. So.
Well, give me an idea. Because, look, I go to Pete's at the beach, which is the best pool hall in all of Duval County. But I'm excited to try something new in Council Area's district. There we go. Oh, yeah, invite us to ribbon cutting, if you don't mind. No gifts, just to be clear.
All right, I think we've put them through enough. So the bill's already been moved. Please open the ballot and record your vote. Close the public hearing. Have a motion second on the bill. Open the ballot and record your vote.
7 yeas, 0 nays.
By action, you've approved 2025-0180. The following bills are on second reading. 2025-208, 209, 210, 211, 212, 213, 214, and 215. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. We are adjourned.